Okay. So this series of VSM practitioner and VSM trainer webinars is based on the idea that Krishan, myself, Angela, and John, and Mark Lamberts actually also came up with. I think at the past the last Metaphorum conference, not the last one, the last, the one before the last one, I think, when
2023.
23. Okay, it was. Wow. Okay. And then we started to think about how we want to develop the whole thing regarding VSM quality, VSM multiplication around the world, making it available from the idea to concrete helps in applications. And we were in that discussion very application focused. It's not a theoretical discussion. We have lots of them in other forums and interested groups, but it's really about how to apply the bloody thing and how to train other people in how to applying it. And we all agree that there is a lot to learn, and that feedback from practical application back to reflection and training, again, lessons learned, do it better the next time. That's what we want to achieve, actually. That should be the purpose of what we're doing here. And this webinar today, last time we had two consultants. We had a consultant with his client who applied the VSM in a Swiss company, a very successful one, and a very prominent one also. That was very interesting. And this time we have a practitioner webinar, a VSM practitioner webinar, as we call them, about a training topic, because as you know, we're also building this certification system with the intention to maintain a minimum quality standard around the globe about VSM applications. And for that, we have built up or we are still building up a certification system. You can become a VSM practitioner, a VSM coach, a VSM designer, or a VSM trainer, certified by Metaphorum, guaranteeing a certain quality. And Krishan now is the fourth, I think, VSM trainer that we are certifying, qualifying as a VSM trainer. And Krishan will tell us today a little bit about how he's approaching this, what he's actually doing, what his thoughts are, what his experiences are. And that's actually also part of the whole certification process. So thank you very much, Krishan, for being at our disposal for tonight. We might ask you some questions. Everybody's welcome to ask questions. I think whenever you like, or do you want to have the questions in the end, Krishan? What do you prefer?
No, no, you can interrupt me whenever you want. We are a small group, and I
Okay.
think it's better to have the direct context.
Okay. Any questions so far regarding what we're doing here, what the purpose is, what the content is? If not, then Krishan, take it away.
Okay, so I start presenting. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Um, in the top row, you have my overall agenda. And you may be surprised that I don't start with the course right away. And but I think it's interesting and necessary to think about the context of trainings and uh, about the goal which we want to achieve. We want to people be qualified for using the VSM and working with the VSM. And so we have to question what competence does mean. We have to define what's in and what's out about the content. And then I come to the form of the course. And the last two bullets or last two squares are a bit of a surprise, and I save this for later. About me, a little bit of context. A few years ago, I used to be a agile trainer and agile consultant, and did something not completely different, but with a different uh, direction. I did process consulting for large companies mainly. And my headline was Agile Coach and Agile Trainer. I found I started to look for the limits and to transgress these limits, and discovered the VSM. Actually, one of my customers is also a customer of Martin, and he told me about the VSM. And at first it was curiosity, now it's conviction, and so I am here now. The activities I do is Metaphorum. As Martin already said, I'm a part of the training program. People help out in the web strategy and the special interest group, the VSM and artificial intelligence. And I'm a facilitator of a group of change agents in the largest companies in middle of Europe, DACH 30. It's it's about 50, 60 people who meet 3 times a year and discuss things. And I have a local activity, I call it the Tautai Salon. If you are curious what Tautai means, it's Tautai was the title of the Samoan pilots in the South Pacific, and they sailed all thousands of miles and could orient themselves and act in a highly complex environment. And that is a role model for me, how they manage to achieve that. Okay. My vision is I want to unleash the full power of the VSM, and I do it by embedding in a larger tool set. And the point of view I have, it's a complex and chaotic world. For the orderly things, there are lots of theories, and I am not needed there. And one step is to show the limits of linear thinking, but it's more needed to equip leaders and managers to tools to succeed in this world. That's about my vision. And if I compare my training approach, I'm sorry, Angela and Martin. Martin, as far as I could see, integrates VSM as a cornerstone into traditional organizations, and he translates its implications into practical improvement in the language of organization designers and developers. Martin, is that about right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And the advantage of that approach is he speaks the language of traditional managers and can connect to them very easily. And I appreciate that approach. While Angela wants to maximize the agency, autonomy, and success criteria for self-organizing groups, communities, and so on, and gives them a deep understanding of history and foundations of VSM and organizational cybernetics. I hope she agrees with that too. And I already said it, I want to embed VSM into a toolset for complex world. And my main point here is complex. Which leads me to the next point. What are the typical pain points? Flow bottlenecks in the sense of lean and rigid structures for organization designers. And if you talk about the team level, you have some type of flexibility and agility, but it stalls when you try to scale it. And change agents see some fatigue in or pushbacks. And I took this into consideration when I designed this training. Another you might think of topic point is foundations. I think learning theories reflect how we picture our audience, what image of people and humans we have. And I think it has deep consequences of how we approach our trainings. But one thing I think adults need to take ownership for that learning journey. You cannot treat them as the same as you do with children. My second axiom is learning is continuous, is a part of social practice. It's not individual skills, or not only individual skills, it's also part of social skills. And two quotes I have taken to heart is one is Deming, working is learning. And in case you are not familiar with the 70-20-10 formula, the typical time budgets for learning is or should be 70% day-to-day work, working is learning, 20% discussion among peers or mentoring, and 10% classroom trainings. So I try to embed trainings into the praxis of people. And the third point I would like to make is you don't always like what you see. You have to leave your comfort zone to really be able to see something unfamiliar. And then I want to spare you the discussion of training theories. These sentences are my excerpt and my most important points. The next question is, if we qualify people, we have to think about what qualification skills mean. And as it turns out, there are several theories which state that you have very different needs from beginners and from experts who want to develop further. If you are a beginner, not a beginner in life, but a beginner in a specific topics like filling tax forms, the first reaction is you panic and you want the job done and not go to jail. And only after you come over that panic, you're an advanced beginner and you can start to learn and to recognize patterns. But at that stage, you don't have a use for a big picture or overview. You just need guidelines and rules. And you, if everything goes well, you progress to competent, proficient, and expert means forget the rules. My stomach knows what I have to do. And I have to think about what is the state of my audience to tailor my training in the right way. Another aspect also is I do not want people just to repeat what I have said. I want them to become fluent in their action. And this means they need practice, they need repetition. And it's like learning a language. You can learn a vocabulary, but this doesn't make you an expert in the language, and this doesn't help you if you are in a situation with people on the street in Italy. You need fluency and practice for that. For me, this means repetition is your friend. And third
And
aspect,
one
yes,
question, Krishan.
yes,
We're still talking about the 3-day training, right? That's the framing, actually.
that's
The
a framing,
training
yes.
on VSM.
I
Exactly. Yeah.
I didn't even touch the content. I just talked about my mind state and what I'm
Yeah, yeah,
trying
yeah,
to achieve in
exactly.
general
No,
when I do
no,
training.
I was just thinking about how you could achieve that all, but you will say something about what the objectives are of the 3 days and the program and
Yes,
later and how you
yes,
embed all of that into your program.
yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And I cannot make people experts in 3 days. I can give them a starting point and a motivation.
Yeah.
To narrow it down, there's one taxonomy of knowledge. Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's framework organizes learning from remember, simplest one, to create. Can I build something new? Am I an innovator or something in this area? And if you talk about this taxonomy and how to use it, you use these verbs or similar verbs to define the goals you um, want to reach for a specific unit or a specific training. If I want people to remember the 5 systems of VSM, yeah, maybe that's not enough, but it's a thing. And I come back to that taxonomy later, and um, use it in my learning objectives. And what I use is I have learning objectives for every lesson. Martin, maybe that answers your question. And quizzes, I uh, prepare these quizzes for an upcoming online version of the training. And I have one VSM project for every training, which goes through most of the training time of the 3 day. For example, for module 4 of VSM Foundations, you found it defined the concept of viability, explain the importance of clearly defining the boundaries, and so on. That's a typical set of learning objectives I have for
Mm.
my trainings.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm touching content. Thank you for your patience.
No, no,
I
it's fine.
for me it's important to frame that training into such a set of objectives. Um, if I talk about the whole VSM journey, I have 3 points. The lower green area is what we are talking about today. The name of my 3 day VSM coach training is Navigating Complexity, VSM for Adaptive Organizations. And what I use in this training, the main topics are VSM, complexity theory. I use the OODA loop for structuring it, and I have written a book called Viability Canvas for structuring the activities.
Oh, I haven't seen it in the form of a book yet. So it's out as a
Yes,
book. You hold it into the camera once more, please.
it's a test. It's not publicly available.
Okay.
It's a test printing,
Okay, I see.
but you can get one like if you like. Yeah. So and if you finish this training successfully, you are a VSM coach, and this reflects the path of the Metaphorum training program. The next step is you want to have a practical project and some mentoring and or training with to become a VSM designer. And for me, that's a selection of the contents of the next two training sessions. One is using the viability canvas. I'd use parts of the viability canvas also in this training, so we will revisit that. It's the canvas. And the other thing is I'm talking about the thing I call spanning the adaptive space. And that's a point where using the VSM becomes really, really interesting, because if you don't touch the dynamics of VSM usage, you have just a glossary of things, and that's also useful. Also can help in finding problems, but it's not the whole show. I think it becomes really sexy when you talk about spanning the adaptive space, and little bit patience, please, until I explain what's in there.
Okay, just wanted to ask, so the viability canvas, you show us what it is. I know it,
Yes,
I've seen it,
yes,
but not everybody here, I think. And,
yes,
and that topic also, I think that's of interest. Again, I understanding as seeing it as a dynamic system rather than a plan. Okay.
yes. Recently, I met a guy who insisted in creating a system 6,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
is reflection. It's actually it's pretty funny what happens when people with a limited understanding of the VSM start having ideas. Um, okay, so let's start with that one, um, and I start with the. No, it's not boring, I hope, but it's no. I think it's no surprise for you when you work with the VSM. Um, it's 10 modules. I have a framing or introduction and an overview about the basic theories, cybernetics, complexity theory, and VSM. I go deeper in cybernetics. I go deeper in complexity. That's both is about an hour, a lesson of an hour. And then I have a longer sequence working with the VSM. That's the next 4 lessons. VSM Foundations is focuses on finding a system in focus and system ones. Next is I iterate over the meta system, and then I use VSM for complexity diagnosis. In that lesson, we talk about dysfunctions and pathologies. And then I touch lightly the design. The purpose of this introductory course is mainly diagnosing, but I think I need to touch the design question to prepare the further path to a more complex understanding, deeper understanding of it. And the last 2 is something like wrap up. Future practice is discussing how my practice will look like, where can I find further resources, and that is closing of the training. No surprise here, I think. And I go deeper into some examples of these lessons in a moment.
I think one question that could arise if I did dare to interrupt you, but I think we agreed that we would do that, is that you're spending quite a lot of time on deep dives and foundations and complexities and so on, which I would ask myself, well, are you going to lose the audience because it might seem
It's
too theoretical, but you do that whole in very interactive way, as I understand, right?
these modules are not all the same length.
Yeah.
So I do not intend to spend half a day for explaining
Okay.
cybernetics basics.
Okay, so that's not the visual is not 50-50 here, right?
No, no, no,
Time-wise, okay.
no, no.
Yeah.
Actually, the cybernetics is I do a short introduction. I hand out some material, and the groups after working with the material do teach back, and they explain to the rest of the course what they learned.
Mhm.
I found this is much more interesting, and uh, the retention is much better. If you have a PowerPoint presentation, the retention is typically about 20%, which means the people can quote 20% of what you said, and it goes up to 80 or 19% if they practically work with that content. I have an agenda later in a moment, but just touch a little bit spanning the adaptive space. It's starts with two viewpoints, and viewpoint one is the company has a crisis or a problem, and some person, guy or girl, in some department comes up with a workaround. It works for their clients and for their specific cases. And now they propose to use it in the whole company. And the foreseeable answer of the rest of the management is yet. And now it's a question what happens. If the net is final, that's a missed opportunity. Or if it's a start of a dialogue, a constructive dialogue, they will, yeah, the guy who came up with the idea will not recognize it anymore, but it's useful, and hopefully it's applicable for the whole company. And you recognize that pattern. That's exactly what we talk about when we discuss about the 3-4 and 3-4-5 interaction in VSM. And that's a crucial difference between using VSM just as a diagnostic tool and or as a structural tool and using it for daily work, because this it's part of an operating system for the company, not only of some random tool. And what I want to do in that 3-day course is lay the groundwork for that. Two more things in the spanning the adaptive space things. It's sensor networks. I think it's easily forgotten to discuss how did anybody notice, and that's a bigger issue than it seems in the beginning, because sense making and complexity is a question about getting to leading indicators in a complex environment. And this leads to a specific application of complexity theory and the Cynefin framework, the liminal Cynefin path. Are you interested in some introduction to that?
Well, I am, yes. I don't know. Not everybody will answer you. I'm also interested in seeing if you can go one step back, the Four Sisters of, what was it? Understanding. The
The
Wheel
four
of
sisters of
Karma.
understanding. Okay.
Okay. What's that?
Um, these are it's part of my upcoming book, and it's part of a LinkedIn article I wrote I think in May. The four systems are interlinked. The one is weak signal detection. Second is situation awareness. And situation awareness can be a thing of persons or a thing of collectives or of teams. Third one is sense making, not only sensing a situation, but developing the ability to plan from the signals you have recognized. And the fourth is filtering, and
Okay, yeah.
that's Kahneman simply.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you.
So that's the advanced. That's one of the advanced course, and that's at the left you see Kinefin framework. Kinefin defines 5 areas in which you can be clear or obvious, which means you work in a McDonald's and you have rules and you follow them, and if you don't, you get fired. That's the clear environment. It can also be complicated. Complicated if you are an expert in airplane repair. You can give your input to plans, but normally there is a big handbook. If you print it and put it in that Airbus, it will not start anymore. But there's still a defined outcome, and you can guarantee that the airplane is repaired at the end of your shift. And complex is, you cannot guarantee outcomes. You have unintended consequences if you act. And fourth is chaotic. Chaotic is complex is a situation if you try to innovate and create the best running shoes of the world, but you don't know what your competitor does, you don't know what the market wants, you don't know what COVID hits us next, and so on. And a lot of things can happen. And you have to adapt your practice all the time. And chaotic is typically in war, in fighting, or firefighters have typically a chaotic environment. And the fifth is the area in the middle, when you come into in a situation and are not aware where you are. You have to position yourself.
So how are you using this in the VSM context? If you do a VSM diagnosis and you see, well,
you look
do you
at the
get
environment.
tactics out
Typically,
of that? What to do?
you look at it. Typically, you look at the environment.
Yeah.
You look at how complicated is your product and how complicated is the politics in the company, and these all influence the positioning.
Okay, so you're applying this taxonomy, so to speak, on to complexity situations, to complexity measurements in order to find what the right behavior or the right action should be then. Okay.
And you have some typical paths to follow. In the clear environment, you follow rules. In the complex environment, you do an intervention, measure, and repeat it or leave it, because you don't know in advance what will happen.
Yeah.
And there's a cycle, a learning cycle. You intervene, you observe the reaction of the system, you modify your intervention and repeat it. Which the consequence is learning is integrated in doing.
Yeah.
And chaotic is there is a school burning, and you have to get the kids out, and you don't have time to come together and discuss things. The team lead's word is law in that situation, and you follow it, and that saves lives. And learning is after the fire. When you're back in your base, you discuss things.
I see. With respect of time, Krishan, I suggest we don't go into all the details, but what I find interesting here is that you're dealing with complexity while using the VSM. I'm not sure how you do it concretely.
This is in parallel. There is no established way inside of the VSM. to use this. So I use it as a second source for wisdom.
I see.
And the
That's
right
what
side is the right side. I'm just two sentences. The right side is some paths. For example, the violet path is a development team goes into a risk, into the liminal sphere between complex and chaotic, and takes a limited risk and comes out with a result and goes back into the area, the liminal area to complicated. And you need to convert it into complicated, to standardize it, to scale it.
I see.
So
Yeah.
these are typical development
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Well,
So
I just wanted.
that's about this, and to come back to the viability canvas. This is the structuring of the basic training. I use part of that. The left is a book, and there are some working material. I skip over this. And if we talk about the coach course, we talk about in terms of the OODA loop, observe, orient, design, act, mainly about the analysis tasks in the OODA loop. Analysis is fact finding, and diagnosis is building an opinion about it. And the design is the advanced course, and this guides my the steps I use in the Praxis project. This is not readable, I think. I give you a larger version of one of these steps. Top is an icon of number 4, for example. You will see easily that we talk about system 3, and I have below that I have steps, and at the bottom I have expected results of that step. For example, intent is to identify the relations between the organization as a whole and its units, and deal with aspects which cannot be handled by the operational units or through horizontal coordination. And I guide the students through these steps of fact-finding. That's pretty fast. If you have questions, please don't hesitate now.
Well, I think you have presented the viability canvas, your methodology, so to speak, at the last conference, right?
Yes, yes.
At the last conference. I know from there you can see it also on, I think it's available on the YouTube channel, right?
Yes.
YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So if you want to dive more into details, I suggest you have a look there. But if you have immediate questions, please post them.
I take this as a no. Okay, now how do I deliver the course? The current version we are talking about is on-site, 3 days, and up to 24 people. Better is smaller, 20 or so. But I can also do it in online version, or I'm working on a self-paced course, and have a lot of material and workbooks for to support this. This is agenda. I fear it's also not easily readable, but it follows the steps above, and there's a lot more detail. And
let me just see, because I think that's interesting in how you're using time. I think that's interesting in VSM training, apart from how you do it content-wise. What I see here is that you start 9 o'clock, then you have the introduction, you have a VSM introduction then first,
Yes,
One,
I
two, three,
flip
four, five.
lessons 3 and 4 in this course because I don't want to lose my audience. They need to start working.
I see. So and what exactly are you doing? Are you present? No, are you presenting
No, the
for
typical
some?
step is I do a short presentation, I hand out
Yes.
material, and let them work with the material and let them present the results. That's
Okay.
what I mean with teach back.
Yeah. So if you want to show us an example later on for that, that would be interesting perhaps. And then this day two, on day one, you have the introduction. People know the model. Then in day two, you say, good morning, complexity theory.
Wait. Start with look at the first coffee break at day 1.
Yes.
After after the coffee break, we select the case study which
Ah,
accompanies us all the
I
time,
see.
the three
I see.
days.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, it's not all of these lessons are of equal length.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And
Okay, very so
I strongly suggest that the participants come up with a live example. If everything else fails, I have a synthetic example. It's in the book
okay.
Viability Canvas.
Okay, so you're splitting the participants up into, let's say, two, three, four groups, and each
Yes,
group has their own case in which they applied the whole thing, the whole training, or just day one?
until day 3, uh, day 3 lunch.
Okay, wow. Okay, that's a lot of application then, and you're reflecting on these applications. I
Yes, there are also the occasions where we discuss as a whole course, but
okay.
I put in small slices of lecturing into this work.
And then on day two, you do an hour on complexity theory, I guess,
Yeah.
introducing principles and laws and so on. And then you say VSM diagnosing using as a diagnosis tool, pathology.
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Challenging VSM, what is that?
That means I have 2 lessons, and the first lesson I hand out a description of lean thinking, team topologies, which is famous in the IT area, and um, and lean startup,
Mhm.
and ask them to use to develop a mapping to VSM to
Okay,
VSM
so you
vocabulary.
you develop the commonalities between different approaches here.
Yes, yes,
Interesting.
and
Interesting also because most people always focus on differences and not on commonalities of things. All
yeah,
right.
but uh, if you take the second sequence, flight levels is pretty compatible with VSM. It's only 3 systems and not
Flight
5.
level is a form of value stream mapping, right?
Uh, the flight levels are level 1 is the teams, level 2 is the value stream, and level 3 is 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Uh, it lacks a solid foundation. It lacks some details, but it's simple enough that it can be used for reluctant audiences to do the
Yeah.
first steps.
Yeah. So you're looking at different other approaches and find the
Yeah.
communities.
And
Interesting.
I don't know what happens in a specific course, and
Uh,
sometimes people know one and want to work with it, or other one.
yeah.
I
I think
also
it's
use
especially
Galbraith, the
helpful.
classic, as an example for classic organization design theory.
Yeah, I see. I find that very helpful because very often, if you're applying the VSM, you have existing methods that are just en vogue in the organizations, being it agile or scaled agile methods or whatever flight levels. And to know how the VSM fits into these things so that they don't have the feeling that they have to start from scratch, but use what you have and then build upon that. I think that's very helpful.
Exactly. And I try to avoid the situations where I, people get the impression that I say, forget everything you learned, and I'm here to reprogram you.
Hmm.
That's a stupid approach, and it will
Yeah,
not go well with people, and especially not with senior management.
I see. Then day three, good morning, and then design for viability and adaptability VSM as a design template.
That goes beyond diagnosis. What do I
Yes.
have? Uh, One example is um, um, to do complexity engineering and
Hmm.
um, yeah,
Hmm.
uh, and that's a subset of what you are doing when
Yeah.
you uh, introduce new levels of hierarchy
So,
or
so what you
remove
do
them.
here is finding intervention points, essential balances. You're looking at essential balances. You're talking about variety
The
balance.
VSM variety engineering and balances
Excellent.
in the VSM between autonomy and cohesion and future
Excellent.
and
Yes.
past.
I think that's very important. That's what I wanted to say before, because I remember Stefan Beer himself when we met the first time. I think that was in 1998 in Toronto. He said to me, Martin, what do you think? Why are people not using complexity measurement when they're working with the VSM? Why is not nobody interested in how to deal with complexity? It's not a
It's
topic.
crucial, I think.
Exactly.
The-
I absolutely agree. And I think that was his thinking also. So I'm glad to see him in trainings here. Maybe, I don't know whether we have
I
time.
I
But,
I, I was tempted to put in more, but I doubt that it's appropriate for beginners.
mhm, mhm.
But that's the
Well,
reason why I have the second step, uh, and I hope to implement
yes,
it next
yes,
year.
yes, I see. Last point is synthesis and future practice. What is that?
Um, what does it mean for you? How do you see your role in the future? Um, do you know about communities of practice in your company? Have you an
I
idea
see.
how to create them
So it's a
and
call
to
for action, so to
disseminate
speak, also.
your call for action? Yeah.
I see. Very good. So I would like to leave it to the audience tonight with the rest of the time that we have to focus on what you're interested in it so far. So maybe I don't know, Krishan, if you have some more things that you want to show us content.
No,
So we go.
3 more minutes. 3 more minutes.
Okay. Okay.
That's just example slides.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
skipped
Just
this. I
take your
have
time. You don't need to rush. Just take your time.
okay. I just talked about that. One thing is I plan to open source this training. Um, you can use it, you can translate it, you can extend it, and I hope there will be a community which helps improving it.
Wow. Okay.
And the other day I talked with Angela, and there's another training which will be open source, Evo's training.
Who is
Um,
that?
Evo, I don't,
Ah, Ivo. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
there's
I
a
know.
Croatian guy.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot. That's bad style, but I forgot his last name.
Yeah. Ivo Velichko.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there will be more news in next time. And one funny thing is what I did also is I fed the training to an artificial intelligence, the O3 model, and asked it if you use Bloom's taxonomy and the Kirkpatrick-Phillips stack to evaluate the training and the training program, what do you say?
Okay.
And Bloom says at the left, the different stages of understanding. He said, good, more gaps, the further you go down, the further you go up in levels of understanding. Um, in turn, sure learners actually build a map. That's in the training. It's a practical thing. It has a case study. It just wasn't properly documented. Yes, I have an exercise and require a capstone design for their own business unit, assess assess it, and that's part of the designer training or the designer education. So it spotted the limitations of the beginner's course.
Yeah.
And the other one, the Kirkpatrick Phillips stack, is a hierarchy for evaluating learning programs. And if you just look at the left column, level 1 is the reaction. That's the net promoter score level. That the feel-good factor of the training. And the further you go down, the more impact has the training. And the highest impact is you have a measurable return on invest. And what they said is, yeah, it's a 5 for the first things. It's a 4. I come back to that, and it goes lower if you look at the more relevant impact. Yeah, that's designer. Quiz is solid for knowledge, but lacks performance assessment. Transfer, yes, it's part of the later stages. And the business impact too. And I took this as an absolution for this course.
Yes.
It's limited. It's a beginner's course. It's not a complete program. And that's what
You will not certify somebody who created a chaos in the company you worked with. Yes.
yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
nice.
Thank you. That was it.
Well, thank you very much, Krishan. As I said, interesting, I think, regarding VSM application and the VSM practitioners, which is this group about here, this webinar series. I think training is a very important part of it, and how you do it, and with what intention, how concretely, I think is very, very interesting. I have some questions, but I would like to first give the audience the opportunity to just share some thoughts, experiences, questions, statements, whatever you like. Nothing so far. Okay. So my first question would be regarding the applications. When you do applications in these trainings, what kind of projects are these? What do you expect there? Is this a team, or is it a football club, or is it a blue chip company, or a hospital, or what are we talking
So
about?
I I highly appreciate if it's not team level, because that's you cannot show a lot of things doesn't appear on the team level.
Hmm.
You can
Hmm.
talk about.
Hmm.
Um, uh, the larger the application, the better typically.
Hmm.
It depends of the position of the people who come to that training.
Hmm. Hmm.
And if it's really if it if they really don't come up with an own example, which is the worst case, then I
Yeah.
have an example of a company.
Yeah.
It's called Kent Tornado. They make batteries and battery systems, and
Yeah.
they grew from 150 to 400 people last years, and have some trouble ahead in their technology and reorganizations and so on.
I see. Okay. And so what I understand is that it's important for you that people apply the thing to their level of recursion in which they actually live, so that they really understand and can use it afterwards also. And that's dependent on what you're doing professionally, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It might be even interesting if you have very different levels, application of to a team or a project versus application to a large organization, whatever it is, or and learn application to a business versus non-business is also interesting, I think, to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Typically, my audience is typically businesses, and um, my, what I hope to achieve is to have a mix of people from large companies and from
Yeah.
startups,
Yeah.
and to exchange the viewpoints and the specific focus of these
Yeah.
organizations.
That would also be actually an interesting question for one of our webinars in the future. The different applications, where must it be the same or different if you apply to a business or a non-business organization, or a small one to a large one? Could be an interesting topic. Back to us, complexity management, complexity. What I understood, what you're doing with the Cinefin framework is you talk about complexity management. So you categorize, so to speak, categorize situations according to these four levels, and then derive from there how you should act or what the best strategy for action would be. And there is a complexity measurement on the other hand also. When we're applying the viable system model, then we are measuring the balance of complexity and so on. And maybe you can want to say something more about that, because I think that's
Yeah.
the point.
We know a clear definition of complexity in cybernetics and VSM, and the complexity theory, especially the Cynefin framework, comes from a different background. It uses assemblage theory, and complexity is not so clearly defined because just yeah, it uses partially the same things, the same basic definition, but there is a lot of more nuances in that they are
Yeah, yeah.
talking about complexity. For example, how open is the system? Does it, or is there assemblage? How um, clear is the structure, and how uh, uh, open are the boundaries? And
Yes.
that's a fuzzy definition in assemblage theory.
Yes. Marcus is
Yeah,
a
yeah,
Yes, Krishan, I have respect for the thorough work you are doing. And I have one question about this VSM journey you are projecting right now. But I'm not sure how to understand this diagram. Is this a flow chart? Is this
it's three
it's
courses.
showing steps over time, or what is it?
Yes, it's three courses.
Pardon me?
We talk about the bottom green area. That's the current course.
Yes.
And I can continue and deepen it. But one is I talk about the dynamics of the situation and how to use it not only as a design but as an operating system. That's adaptive space.
Mhm.
And the other one is going into more detail for people who need more guidance, because the viability canvas is painstakingly detailed.
So,
Okay. And what you have this white box which is synthesizing two green boxes. How would you call this box?
One of them is for me is a is needed for become a VSM designer. One of them.
Yes. But is there an idea for the overall box, which unites designing an organization and spanning the space? What's the common idea or also a term?
it's not only diagnosing, but acting in the organizational space. And depending on your experience and depending on your position, you have, if you look at spanning the adaptive space, you need a lot of influence on organizational culture of strategic positioning to make System 3 and System 4 on the top level to talk to each other. And if you're on a lower level, this is just your environment and you cannot influence it.
And what I'm observing here, what caught my attention is that there's no loop or no arrow going back in the sense of a loop.
The learning in itself is a loop, but attending a training, there is no loop. So that's a
Okay,
classroom
yeah.
aspect.
I see. Okay. Well,
It's more
many
flow
thanks,
chart
Krishan.
here, right?
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other remarks? If not, then thank you for your attention. Thank you very much, Krishan, for showing us your concept for VSM trainings. 3-day course, the Navigating Complexity course we've been talking about, but also how it's embedded in your whole training concept. And next webinar, Krishan.
Is on October 8th. It will, Mark Lamberts will present his approach to trainings.
Exactly.
And you will get a newsletter notification for that training with coordinates.
Exactly. So 8th of October, that's the date. If you want to mark it right now, time is the same time as now, I assume.
Yes.
And you get a new invitation with the newsletter about it. Looking forward to seeing you again.
Okay.
And thank you very much. Have a nice evening, everybody, or a nice morning, depending on where on the globe you're located.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much for input and discussions.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Many thanks.